Mike Carlson in the house, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Nice pair of Nashes there, Mike. Well, your own or?
Well, no, I borrowed them from Luis Suarez.
Now, let's start with France, Nigeria.
Right.
An interesting game, not least because if you look at the record of African nations in the World Cup, no one's ever advanced past the quarterfinals. Will Nigeria be that team that can do that?
You know, I doubt it simply because of all the teams that no one was fancying that went through in the World Cup, Nigeria is the one that have continued to play their own game. They've been attacking like crazy. They run like crazy. And it'll put a lot of pressure on the French. But it's exactly the kind of strategy that in the end seems to run aground in World Cups. You know, and when you look at the teams like the US, like Costa Rica, like the Belgians to some extent, even the Dutch to some extent, they're all playing that very compact game in the back and then breaking out and running like hell.
Is Vincent Anyama the coolest man in the history of sports?
He may not even be the coolest guy in the Nigerian team, though.
Yeah.
You know, because any time you have your team captain who's married to a former Miss Beautiful Nigeria, Most Beautiful Nigerian Girl, MBNG it's called in his side. You know, that's pretty cool. But yes, he's laid back. He's the guy, I think, who has to really come through and score. Musa, you know, against Argentina, they beat Argentina. They lost to Messi, basically. But Musa and Messi were keeping pace with each other for a short time. He's got to step up and score if they're going to win.
Musa's your key player, isn't he, for Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely, because he can score. He can create a goal himself if he has to, and they may well have to do that against the French, because a lot will depend on the French back keeping solid as they attack, as they counterattack. But Musa's the one guy who will be able to create a goal out of nothing for them.
Benzema's been one of the stars of the tournament so far. Up against Emeneki, that's your head-to-head, isn't it?
Yeah, and almost for similar reasons. For Emeneki, he's the one who has to take the pressure off Musa, you know. And if he can finish, if he can make something come in wide, make something happen, then I think good things happen for Nigeria. Benzema, we know, can create goals and can finish. If I'm Nigeria, he's the guy in the French team that I want to stop. I want to not let him do that. And I'm not sure that the French forwards get the kind of goals they need without Benzema creating for them. You know, I don't think they have the big time finishers that they might need unless he's there to help them out.
In terms of key man for France, you've gone for Didier Deschamps. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at the squad 4 years ago and the chaos that surrounded them during the World Cup. It's an altogether different setup now because of him.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams, like I say, playing a more organized fashion, and you're seeing this a lot. And I mean, you can look back, say, to Atletico Madrid, you know, and in the Champions League final, you know, and that kind of style of play, being able to defeat teams with bigger stars, you know, and bigger names. And I think Deschamps has brought that to France, and this team reminds me quite a bit of the really good French teams that he was a part of, you know, and Benzema, you know, is the guy who kind of has to step up into that key role in that team.
Okay, Mike, moving on to the later kickoff, Germany, Algeria, and I think it's fair to say there's a little bit of history between these two.
Yeah, well, the Germans and the Austrians, you know, basically conspired to keep Algeria out in '82. I'm not sure that's going to have any huge effect on the guys playing today.
Oh, the Algerians, surely it will.
Well, I think it's one of those things that we kind of talk about more than they will. I mean, they've got to worry about how they play their game.
Have they got a chance, do you think?
I think they do, and they play the same kind of game that the U.S. played against Germany. They play that sitting back and then breaking out, like so many teams are in this World Cup. And I think with a couple of breaks, they can do it. Now, Feghouli, to me, is the key guy, because Fegouli's the one guy who can both create goals and finish them if he has to. And so when you're breaking out against the Germans, say, and you're coming wide and you're coming down that channel between the midfielders, he's the one who can make things happen with the ball. Slimani is a scorer, but they've had trouble finishing, basically, in the tournament.
For your key player for Germany, Mike, you've gone with Philipp Lahm.
Yeah, because he's so essential. Against a team that's going to break out, you need to have the guy who's covering for the players who are coming forward, and that's been his role for Bayern and for Germany.
Does he work well in that role, do you think?
Oh, he's excellent. You know, he made a couple of mistakes against the United States, but he also covered up for other people's mistakes and saved, you know, a couple of potential goals, and that's exactly what his job is going to do. And to me, it's interesting that the Bayern players are the key to this German team, and for example, the young players playing in the English league have not made a big impact for the Germans yet, which you keep waiting for one of them to explode.
What about head-to-head in this game?
Well, head-to-head, I like the goalkeeper matchup on the side. Neuer has not been perfect in the German goal, but he has a tendency to make big saves. He's been out of position once or twice and been saved by his players, which is great. And Mboli I just think it has the potential to make big saves. And he's going to have to against Germany, because you know that sooner or later somebody's going to come up. It's been Mueller, but sooner or later one of these other guys, Ozil or someone like that, is just going to have a good shot at goal, and he's going to have to make that save if they're going to stay in the game.
Would you say Neuer's an elite goalkeeper?
No, it's no. Courtois, for example, is an elite goalkeeper. The U.S. have to go up against Belgium on Tuesday.
Yeah, and do you fancy their chances in that game?
I do, actually. I think they can beat Belgium. The Belgians play a very similar style of game to what they're playing under Klinsmann. And this U.S. team, I don't think player for player is necessarily as good as the one that got to 2002, got to the quarterfinals and lost to Germany. Maybe not even the last World Cup, but they're better organized under Klinsmann. And I look at Beckerman as being the key here, because he's a guy who probably wouldn't have made the team in those earlier two teams. And he's a limited player, but what he does for Klinsmann is give him that flexibility between the back four and the four in front of them. He's sort of sitting there, and wherever somebody goes, on a break or on a defense, he fills in that spot, and he does it very well. And it's been a very impressive performance by the U.S. They just need that breakaway goal.
Incidentally, Klinsmann has informed all the players and their families to extend their stay in Brazil to after the tournament's finished. If that's not confidence, I don't know what is.
He's hired a tour bus for
that's what it is. That is, I'm afraid, just about it for today's show. Give it up for Mike Carlson, everybody. Superb debut on the show, unsurprisingly. Give us your prediction quickly for Germany-Algeria.
Well, let's say the Algerians get an early goal. I think Germany probably 2-1.
2-1. That's what Mike Carlson thinks. What about you? Let us know your predictions in the comments below. And don't forget, you can subscribe for more great World Cup content, because coming up tomorrow, Julien Laurent is back in the house. Yes, does deserve a round of applause. He'll be looking ahead to Argentina, Switzerland, and Belgium, USA. So for that and much more content, check it out right here. Keep going. See you tomorrow. Hey, I've got to get you to sign the desk before you go, Carlson.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free. In English.
Not much room left here.
Well, there isn't.
In Spanish, yeah.
Can you do it in Spanish?
Your name is El Jugo Bonito, mi culo.
What is your name in Spanish? There you go. Oh, beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.